episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And this is Season 4, Episode 20.
Or Episode 90 if you're counting.
But who's counting, really?
I'm counting. We've been over this. I'm the guy keeping count. Every time.
Yeah, but like why?
Top of every... Because it's a landmark, you know? How many episodes we've gone through till this point, at this very moment.
So it's been 90.
90 episodes.
So another 10 and we'll be at 100.
Good job! Public school didn't fail you.
I don't know. I can't pass remedial math.
But public school didn't fail you. When you actually have to pay yourself, yeah, they'll fail you.
No. Well, they didn't fail me when they were supposed to fail me. You don't understand. They kept passing me along.
I know. You told me this several times.
Despite the fact that I should have failed, and it felt great at the time. Felt absolutely great at the time because I was like, yeah, he gave me a 70 to pass me. I wasn't supposed to get that 70. I was so not supposed to get that 70. And
Woo, go public school.
I regret that Texas education was like, oh, we don't want to get in trouble for, having to hold somebody back. Just pass her.
Well, whatever. You're paying loans now. You can say all you want about school.
I'm not paying loans.
No, well, technically, we're paying loans.
We're paying your loans.
We're paying my loans because I have a lot of loans.
So
welcome to the show, guys.
As always, thank you to our Patreon contributors who have contributed over at patreon.com/MarsGirl, who continue to make the show happen every week, and the additional shows that I have further been adding to the list of doing, as well as our Farewell Fami Kamen Rider movie coming out in less than a week.
Yes,
here
this
on
Wednesday,
this very channel.
8 p.m. Central Time over on this stream right here. After the movie, we'll probably be streaming a few minutes ahead of time just to say a few words leading into it. So you guys on the West Coast, if you guys are watching this on YouTube later, you guys make preparations for that. That way you can be here. If you can't be there right at 8 p.m. Central, after we've shown the movie one time through here, we're going to unlock it over on YouTube. That way everybody can watch it, and then everybody can watch it at their own leisure and enjoy it.
Kind of thinking if there's any problems with this Twitch stream, should that happen, I'm considering also making a stream available on Ustream as well. But keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. I'll let you guys know if that ends up being a thing.
Yes. But, yeah, we're in the final stages here, just doing the last little edits and tweaks to it, and again, we can finally say we're very happy with the final product, and we hope you guys will respond to it just as well when you see it on Wednesday.
Yeah, I hope so, for sure. Kind of along similar topics, I don't really have to ask you what's going on, because I know what's going on. Yesterday we saw Furious 7. Facebook, what the hell are you doing? So we saw Furious 7, right?
Right.
And I had never ever seen a Fast and Furious movie at all, ever. And, so I was like, I don't care. It's an action movie for the sake of action movies. Fast cars, big explosions. You get what you pay for.
And, like, I'd seen bits and pieces of, like, the first one on TV. I saw Tokyo Drift, and then my dad showed me, like, the latter 40 minutes of the last movie, Fast and Furious 6. So that's all I knew going into this one. But, of course, we go into this one knowing, of course, that they had to film things a little bit differently due to the loss of Paul Walker during production. And that, of course, didn't go unnoticed by us.
Right.
And, yeah, of course, we're not going to spoil anything, but to say the least, the send-off that they gave him, considering that he was such a big part of that cast, that crew, they had very much...
That franchise, yeah.
Yeah, the parallels between that movie and what we were having to, work on this week were, to say the least, undeniable, but very palpable.
Yeah, surely, at the very least, you have heard that the ending is very powerful, even to casuals who aren't necessarily very attached to the Fast and Furious movies. So I will say that much. I didn't feel a dang thing throughout the entirety of that movie, other than laughing at how insane everything I was looking at was.
Yeah, but it was freaking cool.
Yeah, I guess it was just crazy and kind of stupid. But that ending, like, we were crying.
Yeah.
We were crying. And that's about as much as I'll say, but I think you probably have heard that from a lot of people. I think a lot of people have said that.
Yeah.
So that having been said, yeah, that was my first experience with a Fast and Furious movie. At the end of everything, which they may or may not continue, I guess.
I hear plans that they're trying to continue the franchise, albeit with a completely different crew. But that remains to be seen. But for what it's worth right now, having watched that one, props to them for getting it done and doing it in an incredibly tasteful, enjoyable, and entertaining way.
Absolutely.
But having said that, we've got other stuff to talk about, like tonight's stories, right?
Like, I thought you were gonna, go into, a little jingle or something after that. The way
I can
you
come up with a
presented
jingle. I mean, we got friggin' automaton here, but I don't use it. You use it.
Yeah, but I can't come up with a jingle on the automaton. No,
yeah, there you go.
No, that's
Save it
not
for
happening.
later. Okay.
Lego Dimensions is a thing.
Oh my god. Okay.
So Lego Dimensions is a game that has been announced that is a lot along the lines of Skylanders with little plate thing, and then you got little figures that do things on the plate, and they're gonna sell lots of those things, and that's been announced, and there's been a trailer for it, and it looks entertaining, and we want to talk to you guys about that thing.
Yes. Our second story is going to be covering this kind of fan film that's trying to go legit called, some of you might have heard of it, Star Trek Renegades, which features some of the cast from the original series, other series like Voyager, and many other actors. And we're going to talk to you a bit about what this project is, what they're trying to do with it, and what, if potentially you feel like it, what you can do to help.
Alright.
And then our last story, as many of you have heard this week...
So Five Nights at Freddy's, that nice 3-part short game series that has been pushed out in less than a year's worth of time, is getting a movie.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting and kind of scary for a couple of different reasons considering it's a scary game. I mean, I wasn't all that scared by it, but, I'm a different kind of person.
You're a different kind of person. I find that I'm very susceptible to jump scare. And I hate it.
You sure are.
But we'll talk more about that once we get to that story.
Alright, awesome. So I'm sure we have a bunch of follow-ups to talk about, too.
Yes, we do. Okay, so let's start with the stuff you hate. Jurassic World. Always gotta make a noise every time I bring it up.
Always.
Always.
Well, really, at this point, I do it because I think you want me to do it.
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. Okay, so we got our first actual clip from the movie featuring Bryce Dallas Howard and our resident, really, I have to call him Star-Lord because Chris Pratt doesn't seem to be playing a new character. He's just still sassy Star-Lord, but he's dealing with velociraptors
Or as
now.
our friend Greg said, he thinks that's just Chris Pratt playing Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Which is possible, I guess.
Perhaps, but basically...
it was suggested that, their chemistry is okay, and that might be true if only it weren't a Jurassic Park movie, I feel like that they're doing okay together, but,
in the context of the movie you're trying to sell us on, this looked like a clip maybe more from a romantic comedy, perhaps?
Perhaps. It's pretty plainly obvious that, hey, you too, buddy! It's pretty plainly obvious that, clearly these two are gonna bang later. Is anybody shocked?
The tension is palpable in the pants.
Yeah, and it's almost uncomfortable. And then, finally, Chris Pratt gets to a line that kind of makes sense that I'm waiting for, to say, oh, you create these dinosaurs, the dinosaurs, you created them in a lab? Well, they don't know that. They want to eat, they want to hunt.
And they want to... that's literally the movement he does, and it's dude, you couldn't keep it together for 5 seconds.
It was good up until that moment. That phrasing, those few sentences there were no, somebody needs to be telling these people that science and nature says that this is a terrible idea. So all that made sense, but the rest of the stuff around it is very much we're playing this a comedy, you suggested.
So it didn't make me feel too hopeful for it, so I'm kind of falling into your camp now.
That and the delivery of, well, since you can control the Raptors, and then Chris Pratt cuts in, like, I don't control them, I have a relationship with them. We have an understand, or whatever he says. Or it's about mutual respect. That's what it was. And it just... That's where it starts sounding like a comedy to me. Like, yep, he's friends with the Raptors, and he may or may not be sexually involved with them if he's talking about them like this mutual
Look, if
you're
into that sort of thing, there's a whole section on Kindle for books.
Amazon Kindle, yeah.
For that kind of thing, so I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah,
Let's move on to another follow-up. Okay, so in regards to, pictures of things we've been waiting for. So, the people over at Fox finally released official pics of what the Thing, Ben Grimm, will look like in this Fantastic Four reboot. And congratulations, folks, he looks exactly the same, except CG.
He looks like the Thing.
He looks like the Thing,
He looks like a pile of rocks. What was it you were saying? People were getting pissed because he doesn't have a unibrow rock?
Yeah, because there's this very Jack Kirby unibrow that people are used to him having, and they kind of had it in the old Fox movies. And you guys can take a look at it here. Like, he looks like the Thing. Like, there's no denying that's him. But, I mean, that's not really anything to call home about. Like, yeah, he should look like that. Good job. You got one thing right.
Good. Like, should we be congratulating them for doing exactly what was expected of them to do? Like...
Well, sometimes you can't even expect them to do that, especially considering all the non-information they've been letting out. So, yeah, okay, fine. Good for you. Good for you. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it.
Whatever. What else we got?
In other Marvel-related news, we've got word from Marvel themselves that in a few weeks, of course, a lot of us are going to go see, pretty much all of us are going to go see Avengers Age of Ultron. And they've confirmed that there will be a mid-credit scene, but no funny, teasery post-credit scene.
Oh, well, I'll probably watch all the credits anyway. Like, I just always do.
Yeah, and the thing about it is people are saying, oh, it's a tease. Of course there's got to be something in the end. But the president of Marvel, Kevin, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing this right this time, Feige, said, no, we're not teasing you guys. There's not going to be anything at the end. There's just going to be a little black screen add-on text like the Avengers will return again in, like, Civil War. Like, something that simple.
Yeah, you know what? Whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Like, this is so... If you ask me, this is so not news about whether or not there's a thing at the end of the credits, and the answer is no. Like, well, I'll just sit through the credits anyway because that's the right thing to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and moving on to other Marvel-ish news. Of course, some of you guys are bringing it up there. The first picture that we have from Ant-Man of our villain Yellow Jacket, they're making very much a point that the Ant-Man suit has no weapons on it, but Yellow Jacket, for some reason, has plasma cannons in his pincers.
He does that?
I don't know. I don't think he does. I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
Well, he does now.
He does now, because he's a bad guy now.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, like, great. Like, I was feeling that positive about Yellow Jacket to begin with. Now he's got plasma cannons. Woohoo! Yeah, it's...
What else you got?
Alright, what else do we got? Let's see. Of course, we're looking at... tonight at midnight, those of you on the West Coast will get a little before we do, our first look at the entire full series being released onto Netflix of Marvel's Daredevil. And today they decided to go ahead and give us a look that I myself personally had been begging for, an official look at the red costume, and it's red. Like, I can't say that I like it.
Good job for doing the thing you were supposed to be doing already. Why are we congratulating them for doing what they were expected to do? That's like every time I get an achievement or a trophy when I'm playing through a game and it just unlocks it because I played through the story. And it says, it basically says to me, good job, you got to the part we expected you to get to anyway, congratulations. Why are we praising them for this?
Because they didn't deviate, thankfully. Deviation in a lot of cases can be...
They don't get points for doing what they were expected to do.
Sometimes people can get that very wrong.
And they get minus points for that.
Well, yeah, points deducted, yes. But still, it's good. I mean, I'm not sure how good, because I want to see the full thing, because you just see it from the chest up, but
Uh-huh.
we'll all get to look at it, if not tonight, then early tomorrow morning for those of us who plan on marathoning it. I would if I could. Okay, so moving on to other news. In Heroes news, we've got another returning cast member. Jimmy John Lewis will be returning as the Haitian, who was there alongside Jack Coleman's Noah character.
Yeah, I'm so glad they're starting to announce one after another all these other characters who were in the original run of Heroes, because you were just like, oh no, it's just, what was his, Noah?
Yeah, right. Initially, he was the only one that signed on.
And you were like, no, it's just him. And I was like, there's no way it's going to be just him. That would be super lame. That would be so super lame. But now it's proving, nope, some people
We've at least got 3 back now. We've
Yeah.
got him, we've got Noah, and of course we've got Hiro. So by that point, I'm feeling a lot better about the Heroes series.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably have to go back and do a refresher course on what happened in seasons 3 and 4, but it's like, I'm not entirely looking forward to it. You might remember why. Wasn't that great? Okay, so moving on to other news, we have an update on the upcoming Flash movie. The directors of the Lego movie, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, are actually going to be writing for this movie.
What else have they done?
The Lego movie. I just said that.
And what else?
21 Jump Street.
Okay.
So that'll at least tell you they're going for a comedic tone, which is fine. The way they handled it in those movies, of course, was very successful. And as you can see over on the CW right now...
So long as it's not complete sarcasm.
No, not complete sarcasm, I don't think. Because the levity that any number of the Flashes, whether you're dealing with Wally, Barry, Bart, whoever... the levity of the character is a good balance. Of course, when you're thinking later on down the road in playing with the rest of the Justice League members, a lot of them are very serious and stoic, and he adds a little bit of comic relief without being goofy.
Yeah, I agree.
So, there was a lot of goofy humor in the 21 Jump Street movie, or, in the Lego movie, but at least in the Lego movie it was balanced with other things, I would say, which makes me feel a lot better. So yeah, there's a possibility that everything will be awesome with the Flash movie. Because everything is... Okay, you know what?
You were just reading the chat. And
yeah, but I agree with it. I can agree with it. They agree with it.
They were tying it back to the Lego.
They were tying it back, yeah. Okay, so in other news, we do have a full cast shot of the Suicide Squad doing a table read. Unfortunately, Jared Leto was not available for the table read as he is currently touring with his band right now. But we also find that we've added 2 other cast members. Ike Barinholtz, who was in the movie Neighbors, but some of you might remember him from Mad TV, is now part of the cast. And also Adam Beach, who you might remember from Law & Order SVU.
So this cast just bigger,
bigger and bigger.
Is that a problem?
It might be a problem. And I'm not going to say fully that this is the thing, but there are a lot of reports pointing to this. As of last week, we... heard that Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son, had now received a part in the movie, and current reports say that he's going to be playing Steve Trevor. So, if that's the case, and he is playing Steve Trevor, then you can more or less expect him to show up in the Wonder Woman movie, since he's very much tied to that character.
I'm just saying, so many characters makes it that much more difficult to tell a story about each of these individual characters and make me care about each individual one of them.
Yeah, I get that.
You only have so much time to spend with each one.
Right.
So I feel like, for example, Big Hero 6 had, not a huge cast of characters, but didn't nearly spend enough time with each and every one of them, and I kind of didn't care about their whole team. I just didn't. Because
so much of the emphasis was on Baymax and Hero.
Yeah, so I'm concerned that this movie, if they're gonna focus on anybody, they're gonna pick 1 or 2 people.
Probably Deadshot, Joker, and Harley Quinn.
And then everybody else will kind of be sidelined. And they'll be there, but we're not gonna learn about them as people,
Right.
That is a concern of mine.
Definitely a concern. In other superhero movie news, we've got set footage and set pics of Ryan Reynolds in suit as Deadpool, and we've got confirmation now that his mask has the tracking dots on it, so that while he is wearing the actual mask, they will enhance it with CG and post. That way he actually has the expressive eyes that he normally has in, the comics or the video games.
Okay.
in that case, you know, I'm kind of happy with that. That they're keeping that, because that ties a lot to the character. You know, when he doesn't have a mouth, the expressiveness is carried through his facial reaction.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's another positive thing that we're hearing out of the Deadpool movie, so good for them.
Yeah, because it typically would not be like, yay, CG, but in this case, like, he's a comic book character, let him have CGI. Is like, how are you gonna argue with CGI?
Especially with a character like Deadpool.
Yeah, you can't argue with it.
Yes. And, of course, in the last thing, in Not Quite Justice League Watch, we do have confirmation from Variety that once Mad Max Fury Road debuts on May 15th, the Batman v Superman trailer will be attached to it. So, finally, just inside a year, like 11 months out, we're finally getting something.
But, at the same time, like, I'm gonna see Mad Max, but it's like we're probably not going to need to go see the movie in order to see the trailer because we live in the age of the internet and it's going to be there.
Yeah, odds are we're probably going to see it ahead, maybe about, 5 days, 6 days? Somebody's got to get it out.
Yeah.
But by this point, it's like, okay, we've been waiting. It's about friggin' time. Give me what I want. You've been making me wait and worry. Where's the payoff?
Mostly worry.
Mostly
worry.
So yeah, mark it on your calendars, people. If you weren't already going to go see Mad Max, now you got another reason to see it.
I'm also thinking that trailer is not going to show hardly dick.
I would agree with that. I'm going to be... You know, I'll go ahead and call it now that it's going to be exactly what was shown at last year's Comic-Con. It's just going to be that same few-second teaser that only shows Batman on the rooftop and Superman, you know, getting his late heat vision ready.
I don't know. Well, yeah, maybe. Maybe that much. Maybe you'll catch a glimpse of the other characters that we've already seen photos of, and it won't be hardly anything more than the photos we've seen, and it won't be exciting.
Yeah, but you better believe we're going to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there'll be talking, and it likely will be complaining, because that's what we're good at around here, I guess.
Yes.
And...
That's why you guys are here, so we should probably start complaining about the things we said we were going to complain about.
Well, I actually don't think our topics, for the most part, are complaints, actually.
Actually, you might be right this episode.
This is not a complaint. This
Now,
Lego Dimensions game?
I'm surprised it's not a complaint on your part, because you are an avid opponent of crossover stuff, and this at its core is crossover stuff.
Yeah, I'm not too into that. But much like for example Disney Infinity, like that is basically crossovers just within Disney, but you pick your favorite characters, you know, these little mini figures that have RFID chip kind of technology in it, and you place it on the base that plugs into your home console, and you go run around and play around in the world that character is from.
Right.
And pretty much only those characters can run around in that. Like, you basically get almost a whole new video game with each set of figures. And when I say a whole new video game, I really just mean the same the same gameplay but different worlds. That's the way Disney Infinity functions. Skylanders is just like multiple monsters and abilities, and we're continuously making bigger and badder monsters and stuff. But this Lego Dimensions game, admittedly, that base looks really friggin' cool.
Well, mainly because of the fact that you have to build it. And
yeah, that's true.
That's the added thing, because of course it's Lego, you want to keep that tactile sensation of, even though you're playing a game, Legos are meant to be felt and put together.
Yeah, so this is the first time that a Lego video game has actually expected you to put together a Lego set.
With your hands.
With your hands, which I think is pretty interesting. So, of course, being a Lego game, they have access to a bunch of Warner Brothers properties. So, you got, like, Lord of the Rings and Batman and Back to the Future.
The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. All of these things were under their licensing in order to use for Lego. And that's pretty cool. I would maybe play the Back to the Future stages, for example. Like, I'm not interested in, like you bring up, I wouldn't consider myself crossing over. I would use Marty McFly, and I would send him into Back to the Future stuff. That is what I would do.
But in that sense, you're limiting what that game offers as far as gameplay is concerned. Because the whole
If that
point of it
game forces me to do it, I will do it for the sake of gameplay.
Well, yeah, because the whole... I mean, look at the introduction here. You've got, 3 different characters from three different franchises. You've got Batman, you've got Gandalf, and you've got Wildstyle, all coming together here, apparently on an episode of Community to promote this thing. But, no, I think it's smart of LEGO to go ahead and do this because they see that the market is very tangible right now with the success of Skylanders, with friggin' amiibos, like little posable things put with a home console.
Not posable. They're not posable.
Well, these will be because they're Legos. They move. See, that brings an added sense of playability.
Yeah, that's true.
See, that's smart on their part. They're taking it to the next level because, oh yeah, you've got your Skylanders and you've got your amiibos. Mine has some articulation. 5 points of articulation. You can't even have one.
Arm, leg, head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to launch in September, all things considered relatively not that far away, for both last-gen and current-gen consoles. So Xbox 360, Xbone, PS3,
PS4.
PS Quadruple, and the Wii U, but not the original Wii.
Who cares about the Wii anymore?
Eh,
Not us.
I still have one.
When was the last time you played with it? Exactly.
It's gonna be for the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the PS3, PS4, and Wii U. Interestingly enough, Activision made commentary on the news of this game release, and they basically couldn't give a crap. They really,
yeah, that's a little cocky on their part.
They're so not even afraid. And as is stated by who is Taub? He's the Activision Publishing Senior Vice President, Josh Taub. Says, thanks to our fans, Skylanders is the #1 kids video game franchise in the world and outsells all top action figure toy lines. And the secret to our success has always been our commitment to bringing new magic and innovation to each and every Skylanders game, and we can't wait to unveil what's coming up next. The popularity of the Skylanders franchise has been unmatched, even with new entrants. So they're like...
They're confident.
They're like, not even worried. Like, not even panicking over this.
Well, I'm just over here like, you guys might want to be a little worried considering
the popularity of Legos before,
in general.
Before Skylanders ever was even a concept in anybody's brain.
Well, yeah, you think about that, the origin of Lego, like, that goes back generations.
Oh, yeah.
Lego has been in people's hands for a lot longer than most kids have had home consoles. You've got that. 2, Lego video games have been out a lot longer than Skylanders, and people have been playing and enjoying those for years. And then on top of that, you've got the added cash cow of the movie tie-in. You've got the Lego movie, which of course made all its money and is getting its sequel. You've got the Batman Lego movie, which they're developing. And now, you bring those characters in over here, and, just about, I can't find anybody who hated that movie.
That's true.
The Lego movie.
Like, Lego wasn't really ever my thing in childhood that amazingly big, but the movie was a fun movie, yeah.
I'm saying they've got, the Lego brand has gotten exposure that Skylanders does, in fact, wish to achieve. Like, Activision, don't kid yourselves, one of these 2 properties, Skylanders or Lego, has their own theme park. You remind me which one that is.
In fact, Lego has multiple Lego lands. And big old outlet stores in malls and other places, So, I don't believe Skylanders has such a thing.
No.
I don't believe.
They don't.
Somebody is suggesting that they're a little surprised that Skylanders is outselling Amiibos. I'll only say that I'm not that surprised because there seems to, at least in North America, there seems to be this constant shortage of Amiibos. Now, whether that is because Nintendo is forcefully causing the shortage, or if it's just that friggin' popular, I'm not really sure.
You don't even have to look at it that way. Look at it in simple terms. Amiibos only exist for Nintendo products, whereas Skylanders is cross-platform.
Yeah,
That's how they could easily sell more.
Well, yeah, absolutely. All the same, Activision is absolutely just creating enough product to meet demand and always, making more. So there's always something there to be bought. And their presence, like, how much presence... Granted, we haven't been watching a lot of TV, so maybe you guys can tell me. How much presence have the Amiibos had on television?
You mean like ads for them?
Yeah. What has advertisement on... specifically on television? What has advertising for Amiibos been like on television? Because I can tell you, Skylanders knocks that out of the park easily. There are Skylanders advertising like you wouldn't believe all over Nickelodeon and Disney XD.
Well, yeah, but the thing about it is the difference, of course, being Skylanders being its own original intellectual property, whereas Lego, it's the combination of all these other intellectual properties that has this whole completely different appeal. You know, so yeah, you're playing the one game, but then when you're talking about, oh, we're gonna cross a bunch of things in this game over, like, you know, it's one thing if you already like Legos, but if you want to put Marty McFly, Frodo, and Robin all in the same thing and build some cool spaceship for them to go fly around and attack, you know, Smaug with, then yeah, you can do that.
Right.
Because that's the kind of gameplay they're touting.
Granted, I don't know if it still lives, but Lego had an MMO for a while that
I'm pretty sure that's dead.
You think that's dead?
I'm pretty sure that's dead.
I would agree. I haven't heard about that MMO in a very long time. I baited that thing, and they tried to make it like, look at you building things and playing with other people. And, like, that died. I'm pretty sure pretty hard. And I'm hoping that this does not die, and I don't think it will. Because, like you said, you can physically hold things in the palm of your hand and put things together.
Yes.
So,
and the thing to keep in mind, and some people are bringing it up here in the chat, is that, yeah, you have to think about licensing, because it's easy when they're already in partnership with Warner Brothers, so some of the stuff we already listed is a given. They've already demonstrated that in their trailer. But that also means they might have access to other things that they've made Legos of, like, say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the upcoming Ghostbusters one, or things that they're going to be coming out with later on down the road.
Right.
Like, say, Doctor Who or another Star Wars set or another Jurassic World set. Like, they have the potential, should they work it out with these other partners, to expand that out limitlessly. Because whereas, you know, you look at something like, say, Disney Infinity, they're kept within the confines of what Disney owns. Now, granted, they own a lot, but that means it's going to be primarily Disney characters, Marvel characters, and maybe Star Wars characters. With Lego, it's so much easier, and there's so much, I think, more demand for people to be like, oh, can you turn this into a Lego set? You know, can you turn... like, how many fan petitions have we seen within the last, say, 2 years for people saying, oh, I want this turned into a Lego, I want that turned into a Lego. And then you parlay that into the video game, it's able to replenish itself as much as it wants.
One person asks, will they incorporate Bionicles? My question is, will they incorporate Duplo?
Based on the movie, I would say yes.
That's right, they did incorporate Duplo into the movie.
At the very end. We're here to bring your doom. You know, like that teasing what may come up in the second one. But yeah. So I think it's a pretty cool thing. I would be more willing to play this since I've already played several Lego games and enjoyed them.
They're entertaining, you know.
Oh, absolutely, because
they're not exactly difficult, but they're entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely entertaining. They're fun, great with Easter eggs. You know, so you'll see a bunch of stuff throughout any of these franchises that they'll make jokes about, and yeah, it'll be enjoyable for more than just kids, because that's the other thing about Lego, which also is showed in the movie, is that it appeals to many ages, not just primarily the kids who are playing with Skylanders or Disney Infinity. They've got a much wider market to sell this to. So they've got that going for them. So come this September, was it September 15th, they said? No, it's September 27th, I'm sorry. That is when the game will launch on all of these current gen and last gen consoles. So if you guys want to pick it up, you have fair notice.
That's your opportunity, yep.
Yes.
Going to story number 2, is this Star Trek Renegades movie that has been announced, and really it had been announced quite some time ago through 2 different crowdfunding sources. It had an Indiegogo and it had a Kickstarter. Kind of crazy that it needed to have 2 of them, and they're still accepting donations now. Which is kind of interesting because it sounds like the movie is basically done, aside from a few special effects things that they need to finish. But the trailer, the point of this is that the trailer for this thing launched a little earlier this week. The point of Star Trek Renegades is that I think a lot of people, thanks Kat, a lot of people are looking to see if Star Trek can make a return to the small screen and air on television.
Because we've heard talk with Paramount saying, we're thinking about bringing it back to the small screen because, of course, we wouldn't have it were it not for the small screen.
Right.
And that, you'll have any number of people at, say, your local convention or local comic shop argue, it needs that forum to get out to mass, public and create that pull that, the original series and, of course, the other subsequent series, Next Gen, Voyager, so on and so forth, had on people. Mm-hmm. So I get why there would be, this desire to have that.
Right. So the point of this movie exists not just to be its own standalone movie, but the hopes of the creators and the producers is, in fact, to take this movie to CBS and pitch it kind of like a pilot for a potential new TV series. And I guess people are not going to be able to see this movie unless CBS says okay, if what I'm reading on their official website is anything to go by. That's kind of what they made it sound like. So we watched the trailer, and it looks interesting enough. To me, it doesn't look perfect, but I would give it a shot.
It could look a lot worse. Let's get that out of the way right now.
I would give it a shot. I think its cinematography is kind of
questionable,
kind of lacking, but it also looks way more action-y than I would typically expect out of a Star Trek television series, unless you're talking about what was the last one that died? Enterprise. Like, I was so not into Enterprise, that, and it kind of stepped all over some canon, some pre-established canon, but some people really liked it, and some people were just happy that it was a Star Trek series that was airing on television. So interestingly enough, it did well enough, this movie, to be able to bring in actual Star Trek actors. So we're talking Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager is there. What is the name of the holographic doctor, also from Voyager? That same actor is there playing that same role. Robert Picardo. And who else do we have making a return?
Oh, we have Chekhov. Walter Koenig coming back as Chekhov.
Who's apparently lived to the age of 140 some odd in this movie, so he says in this trailer. And yeah, I guess they kind of make him look it. I guess. I mean, he is an old man by this point, so that's not hard.
Comparatively, he looks a lot better than Bones did when he showed up on Next Gen.
To be fair, he wasn't doing so hot at that point anymore.
Yeah, I get that, but even then, by comparison, that's all I'm saying there.
Yeah, that and Chekhov, his actor, was a significantly older, or younger person than Bones' actor was.
Right.
So just kind of interesting that, well, hey, that if you have these three actors who are solidified in Star Trek canon and they returned to do this, they must have believed in it.
Yeah, that's got to say something when you get a fan project that gets people that worked on the original thing that inspired you to do it to come work on it.
Yeah, so in that regard, I find this very interesting. There's other names that I'm familiar with on the cast list playing characters that I don't yet know. Grant Imahara, for example, is in some role in this of some variety, as well as, strangely enough, Vic Mignogna, voice actor extraordinaire, Vic McEgnog.
The Edward Elric.
The Edward Elric.
The Edward Elric.
Not my favorite person, but he's got his own Star Trek thing going on that he's been working on for like 8 years, I want to say, and I don't know that it's gone anywhere or gotten any sort of viable attention, but these guys liked him.
And we also got Edward Furlong, John Connor from Terminator 2 working on this. We've got a couple of other people that round out this cast, and looking at the story, not so much the cinematography, let's talk about the story here. Mm-hmm. They're trying to tell something that's a little bit more off the beaten path, that it's not a crew that's going directly through Starfleet. They're basically kind of the I guess the Expendables of the Star Trek universe. They're people that wouldn't normally have to deal with worrying about, oh, the prime objective is going to stop us from doing this. No, we'll do it. You know, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about regulations and things of that nature. And for the most part, it looks like it would be entertaining. I just wonder if at present they have enough story in mind to go ahead and tell a full series worth of story.
Yeah, because right now I'm seeing a group of characters that have to pull off one daring mission of some variety or another that I can't entirely understand just by looking at the trailer. I'll say the costuming looks pretty good. For the most part. Not everything is perfect, but for the most part it looks pretty good. And then the CG is also pretty good for not having television budget, you know, working with what they were given through crowdfunding. Pretty good.
Yeah, because you think about it, like, the two of us, we've been rewatching, Next Gen?
Yeah.
You know, and you see a couple of, upscales or little things, when you watch the older series, too, on Netflix. Like, they went back and redid the effects. It's at least as good as that. At the least. So it's not anything that you're gonna watch and be like, oh, this is taking me right out of the movie. I can't do suspension of disbelief for this. Like, no, it's decent.
Yeah. I think I would need to see this full thing to really know, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt whether or not I would sit and watch more of a TV series by this group of individuals working on this kind of a project, because, again, clearly this looks really, really action-y and very little, let's talk this out, let's prime directive our way through this situation.
Right, and I'll go ahead and link you guys to the trailer, that way you can judge for yourselves whether or not this is something you would want to watch should it make it to pilot on CBS. I think it would be interesting to see it again. I do believe that, yeah, we could use another Star Trek series.
I remember I recently said there is no chance this would ever happen because I am not actress by any stretch of the imagination, but if ever anybody approached me and was like, hey, do you want to just be even a background character in a single episode of Star Trek, I would be like, oh, I am so there. I am so freaking there.
I'd do it.
Do it in a heartbeat.
I'll be a red shirt. I don't care.
Be that one guy who freaks out in the middle of, you know, seemingly nothing.
Oh, from that
from
that one episode
of collapses on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, be that guy, and then everyone will remember you for that.
I could be a meme.
You could be a meme, just like that guy is now.
Just like that guy.
I guess that's really about it.
Yeah, that's about it.
I was kind of expecting
so you guys check it out and you
out
see what you think of it. But we'll go ahead and move on to our last story.
Yeah, but either way, I'd be interested in seeing whether or not CBS gives it the go-ahead. I would imagine that, I think if they're pitching it to CBS, it would be pretty likely that they'd be like, okay.
They could use the programming.
They could use it. CBS isn't doing much else.
Okay, so moving on to our last story. As, of course, we said at the top, Five Nights at Freddy's, which, mind you, came out on my birthday this past year for the first game. The first game.
And they've pumped out another 2 since. Now, granted, it's not exactly like they're reinventing themselves entirely every single time, or that any of the 3 games are especially long.
Well, no, because the last game, the Five Nights at Freddy's 3, just barely came out last month.
Yeah, but it's obvious then that it has trucked along so hard and is pumping out due to demand because people just enjoy it so much. And you know, you're paying only like $5 a game.
For the most part, yeah.
So to get the whole thing, it's only like $15, and that's still a better deal than buying most full-length titles.
That's like 2 movie tickets.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of movies, that's exactly where this is headed.
Warner Brothers.
Oh man, Five Nights at Freddy's in Lego thing.
Oh, don't do that to me! Don't do that to me!
I don't think they would do it, but I'm just saying.
They might do it.
I don't know.
Oh, don't do it! Warner Brothers, don't do it! They might do it.
I actually don't think they would.
I don't know, maybe.
All things considered, Warner Brothers, what do you think? Do they have a legitimate shot at making a good Five Nights at Freddy's
Let's
movie?
take it back to the game, because we haven't really talked too much about the game itself. For one thing, that speaks volumes that a game that, as a franchise, has only officially existed for about 7+ months got a deal for a movie that quickly.
Right.
Like, that's a turnover rate. That's like almost Frozen fast.
Yeah.
You know, that it's just everywhere that quickly. And yeah, the thing about it is, as soon as the game came out, it caught on like hotcakes, because a lot of... I remember when I was first finding out about Five Nights at Freddy's, a lot of it was word of mouth.
Well, the concept of it is really kind of brilliant, because who wouldn't, you know, sitting around and talking about your childhood, who wouldn't later tell your friends, oh yeah, I was freaked out by the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese's?
Well, yeah.
Who doesn't say that? Like, that's already a childhood fear for many, many, many people.
Well, see, for me, it's harder for that, because, yeah, I've already said that I'm very susceptible to jump scares, but the two other things is, one, growing up, I did have a irrational fear of being locked in a place after it was closed, which this ties into, and two, you've heard my horror story, or really revenge story, about what happened between me and Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, but he wasn't an animatronic. That was a dude in a suit.
Well, there might have been a dude in the suit.
Or it might have been an animatronic chasing you around. You don't know. It might not. Maybe that was why he so desperately wanted your attention.
Maybe he was trying to stuff me into a suit.
Yeah.
You ever think about that?
Maybe. I guess he needed that kick in the butt, didn't he?
Yeah. I had to reset him.
All right.
Exactly.
All right.
But see, that's the thing. This movie, or really this franchise, has so much appeal. I mean, you think about it, like, Markiplier has gone, you know, into the stratosphere with people watching him play this thing. And I heard this thing, read this thing on Tumblr. Like, so how many people have already started the petition to have him play the security guard for this movie?
Here's what I'm scared of, and it's the casting of the security guard. Because you are the security guard in, you know, the role of your gameplay through Five Nights at Freddy's. And so, like, this security guard could be any friggin' buddy. Anybody. Because you put your own thoughts and feelings into playing this game. And so, who are they gonna cast? Because if they cast some douchebag trying to act like this is some National Lampoon movie, then this is gonna blow.
Which is to say, if you cast somebody who's too much of a personality, then yeah, that completely changes the tone of the movie. Like, I was making this joke with you last night. The last thing you want to see, Five Nights at Freddy's starring Adam Sandler. Five Nights at Freddy's starring Kevin James. Five Nights at Freddy's starring Will Ferrell. Like, if it's any of those guys, then no, you've already ruined it.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to play to their personality and not to who the real stars should be, which is the Fosbear Quartet or whoever it is, you know, that they're picking from.
That's an idea. A female security guard could be cool. It's not like they outright say that you are a dude or
well, they
a
do
chick.
say you're outright a dude in the second and third game.
Well, yeah, they do. They do, but not in the first one.
Not in the first one.
And if you're kind of pitching this off the first one, then could be anybody. It could literally be anybody. Another suggestion here is, well, what if it's a group of security guards? Like, it would be kind of difficult, right? I mean, maybe not difficult, but perhaps you could think of it artistically. If it really is just one dude, just one security guard, but then you don't have dialogue of any variety.
Well, you could have it very much, you think of movies like, say, I Am Legend or even Moon, where you have one guy carrying the whole movie. But here, it's a little different because you've got, you know, the animatronics to play off.
Here's the thing, too, though. I almost feel like it cannot possibly entirely take place in the security room.
No, he would have to venture out.
He'd have to venture out and then get scared by the things out there all around.
Well, see,
him.
here's the thing I'm worried about, too, because you've got the 3 games with escalating difficulties of gameplay. You know, the first game, you have to worry about staying in the security room and then, you know, making sure everything's fine. But then in the second game, there's no door, so you have to venture out. So I imagine this would kind of be like, say, how Mortal Kombat was, where it wasn't strictly, oh, we're taking only what was in Mortal Kombat. No, they had to combine elements from 2 as well in there, and you see that because they had to do it to make a more full movie. And I imagine with this movie, they might have to pull from both, you know, the first and second installment, or hell, mix all 3 into one movie, but then they've screwed themselves out of a franchise doing that.
That's true. That's very true.
So these are all definite things you want to consider before you go into this movie.
So you're thinking they're going to do a franchise. Is that what this says, that they want to do a franchise?
Well, it's not, I don't even have to read that. If you're optioning any sort of intellectual property anymore. You want a franchise because you want as much bang for your buck. What do you want? Giraffe money. And there could be an animatronic giraffe there that's trying to stuff you into an animatronic bear suit.
Oh man, that's Jeffrey from Toys R Us.
Yeah, and Jeffrey from Toys R Us wants you dead.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's scary.
That really more makes me sad.
Nah, okay. But no, you think about it, this does potentially, like, if they market it right, you know, to the right audience at the right time, like, this has to be an October movie. Like,
I would imagine.
That's like a guaranteed. You would have people butts in seats guaranteed for like some sort of a Friday the 13th or Halloween release. Like, you get that. The butts will be in seats to see this thing.
I would agree.
And of course, you know, looking at stuff and tags on Tumblr, there's been any number of incredibly dedicated cosplayers who have made these suits already.
Oh yeah.
So to make these things accurate,
we ran into those guys at MagFest.
Yeah.
Greg was having that fun time playing Red Light, Green Light with them.
Which is basically what the game is, so that's friggin'...
Essentially, to an extent.
That was great to watch. You know, playing Red Light, Green Light there. And, yeah, so are they going to be able to do it? Absolutely. You know, going to, you know, the Florida theme parks we were going to, you can get animatronics up. Freaking get Jim Henson and crew on the case and make some of this stuff.
As it is, somebody's already made an animatronic Fozbear.
Yeah, Freddy Fazbear. Oh, yeah, that's right, because... You know, he was there with a jerky motion. Homemade. That's some dedication.
And the freaking out eyebrows and crap.
Yes.
Yeah, he exists. He exists. So there's all... Like, this has, in less than a year, exploded into cult following insanity.
Yes.
Quite honestly.
Like, again, the turnover rate is surprisingly fast. And that also makes me wonder that if this wouldn't burn out too fast, that almost... puts more weight on the idea that they would just throw everything into one pot for this movie.
You're scared that they'll burn it out, huh?
Yeah, that we'll get one good movie out of it, and then we'll get a bunch of direct-to-DVD crap sequels.
Oh God, no! Don't say that.
Well, because think about it logistically. When you combine the gameplay elements from all three of what you have to do, you have to lock doors, use a flashlight, put on a mask, work on the ventilation system, reboot other systems. That's stuff that you need to pad out a movie. Like, you have to give the protagonist something to do, which is something the game designers had to do. They had to give him more to do, or whoever it was, every single game. That way you could feel more involved and feel more tension there.
Right.
But by that same token, you can't give him too much to do, because half of the fun of the game is just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And granted, that happens a little quick, you know, in 5-minute intervals, but in a movie, you don't want to waste too much space. You know, you want to keep action going, but at the same time, it would be interesting to see what director would be able to get that balance between the right amount of business for the protagonist to do, while at the same time maintaining just that eerie calm that you get while you're waiting to see... Anybody out there? Anybody out there? Oh, there's a duck. There's a duck coming down the hallway. Lock the door. Okay, the duck's turning around.
I don't have enough energy to keep this door locked.
Oh, I forgot to trip the ventilation system. I'm freaking out. Oh, and then, you know, there you go. See, there has to be the right balance there. And I'm not doubting that there's any number of directors worth their salt that would be able to do it. Don't even ask me to say who my top pick would be, because you could handpick it yourself probably. But I imagine, yeah, they're gonna put this on the fast track real quick.
I imagine so.
Because if you're looking at it, if within 7 months we've had a ton of cosplayers, how much quicker can Warner Brothers pump out these suits? How much quicker can they cast somebody? How much quicker can they film this thing and get it out by this October? They could do it if they wanted to.
Oh, I wouldn't want them to.
Oh no, I'm not saying I would want them to.
No, that wouldn't. I can guarantee that would be a bad movie.
But I would say, you know, that I wouldn't put it past them to fast track this thing.
Perhaps.
Because, you know, why would Warner Brothers sit on a property? That would be terrible. Like waiting for, you know, years to release a movie.
That's not something they would do.
No, they wouldn't do that at all, would they? Okay, I think I made my point. Okay. But yeah, I think it'll be pretty interesting to see. I wonder, though, how gory the movie would be, because Granted, the people playing this game, it varies in range because you can play this thing on your dang cell phone.
Yeah.
So, you got kids playing this thing too. So I'm wondering how gory a studio would want to make this. Like, it'd probably aim for the PG-13 bracket. That way they can get the widest amount of people in there.
Yeah, because it's more jump scares than it is gore scare.
But I wouldn't doubt if it's a movie that they wouldn't throw in some gore.
Maybe a little.
But I guess in order to have some gore, then yeah, you kind of have to have more than one character. Otherwise, you're not going to see any consequences.
That's true. It's very true.
So yeah, that totally says that they're going to have more than one person in there.
More than likely. You're probably right.
I'm guessing it wouldn't be more than, like, say, 5. 5 security people or people who work at...
And they're going to get picked off one by one.
Yeah, like in your typical slasher horror movie, until it's down to the last guy who may or may not get out by the 5th night.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
so I think it's hopeful. I think that it is doable. Now comes the task of finding who's going to actually work on producing, writing, directing, acting in it. Then we can panic. But for right now, the idea, I think, is very doable.
Yes. So it remains to be seen how much further they're going to work with it, but I highly doubt that Warner Brothers is going to let this lapse into development hell. The idea is to strike while the iron is hot, and it is very hot very fast.
Yep.
So, yeah, they're going to move on this thing.
Alright, and I guess that's all the time we have for our news segments then.
Yes.
So that's going to be wrapping up the show. But those of you who are here, I'm glad you're here, and we want to continue to hang out with you for an additional half an hour to just chill with us and do some Q&A time, and we'll just talk to each other. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can always come join us down here on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central. And don't forget this upcoming Wednesday at, we said 8 p.m., right?
Yes, 8 p.m. Central
is when we're airing the web debut of Farewell Fami Kamen Rider. There might also be a Ustream copy of it as well, and then immediately after the movie's over, it'll be unlocked for everybody to watch on demand.
Yeah, so make sure you tell everybody, come out, Wednesday night, get some people together, come watch this thing. You're going to want to see this thing. Because, from everybody we talked to that has seen it, they've been, I think they've used the term blown away by what they saw.
Yeah, a couple did say so, yes.
So yes, we very much want everybody to share in this as a group together watching it next Wednesday, so we hope to see you guys there.
Yep, so thank you very much for hanging out with us this evening, you guys. And what, Twitter and junk? Yeah,
Twitter, you can always talk to us there. A lot of you have, and we'll talk more about that there in the chat, but you can always talk to us there during the week. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
So that having been said, that's been this episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you guys next week.
Good night.